Nelly here, and I'm taking you through in this video how inspection software Home Inspector Pro. First thing is you run along the bottom of your dock and you'll see the green man with the blue hat. You click on the green man with the blue hat. This is the icon for Home Inspector Pro. It'll take a few seconds to open up. As this isn't a cloud-based software, this is a software that's based on your computer. Okay, so you'll see there's a whole bunch of buttons up here and icons, and there's a whole range of tabs that you can see up here. Now, what I'm going to do in this session is take you through some of the key aspects of it and how to move through Home Inspector Pro so you become familiar and comfortable with it, not necessarily talking about the technical aspects of the inspection or what you will include or won't include. Okay, so the first thing to be aware of here is that there's a number of these icons, and these are sort of quick tabs. These enable you to get quickly to a function, whether you're saving a template, client info, which is this page. So if you go back to another page, you can come back to this page here. So there's sort of like shortcut buttons that take you through to the different pages within the software. Okay, so the next thing to be aware of is as you move through, as you sort of move from left to right, you'll notice that as you put your cursor on each of these items, a drop down appears. You can see that. And then basically as you move through, you can open up anything that becomes highlighted then will also open up, as you can see. So for example, if I wanted to look at the company logo, it would come up with that. Under edit, if I want to look at company information, it would come up with this format. So that's one thing about moving around Home Inspector Pro, is you've got these menu options at the top, and then you move from left to right, then from top to bottom as you go through. Okay, so these are the menu items, and these menu items will change depending on the template that you choose. So for example, at the moment, this is using our main template, and I'll just show you something. So if I open another template, which is our basic template, you'll see now that this has changed. It's a lot more briefer. Not as much information in here as per the other template. And so these menu options are linked directly to the template. If I go back to our normal template, which is this one here, you'll see now that the options are very much more opened up. There's more details in here. Okay, so this is a bit of an introduction, and this is the home page. Now, the way to move your way through the inspection software is from the start page, the first thing you would always do when you do an inspection is, since you're at the first page, is you would put in the details on this page. And please note that it's the last name first and the first name last. This often catches people. We don't normally put phone number, fax, email address. We put the inspection address, which is really important. Okay, and you just simply fill in the details in here. Zip is postcode, obviously. The date of inspection always brings up today's date, and you put the time of the inspection. And then if you know the real estate agent, you can add that, and there's some other details that you might also add in here. When you go through and this is sort of the first thing that you do, is you complete the client information. Very important every time you sort of move through a tab that you save. So I'm now going to save this inspection, and it saves it in the default location. I'm going to call this the sample inspection 1. Very important you do that, and when I've done that now, it'll now save that inspection. So next time I go to save inspection, it'll come up again, and I can resave it and replace it. So it's important that you do that each time you enter any information in there. There's a lot of these tabs are about setting up the system. Don't really go into these items here, the file, the edit, the internet ones. It sort of takes, and even this report settings, this is something you do once it's set up, and they should already be set up. And once it's set, then you begin your inspection from general information. This is the location where all the different options for the inspection take place. Okay, so this is always the first thing that you do. You complete this information. We don't complete, whenever you do an inspection, we never put the phone number or the fax number in here. We don't use the email address. What I've completed, if there is a real estate agent, you always put in the real estate agent details in here. Often that'll come up with a drop-down box. I don't have any in here now. We don't put the inspection fee. We don't put the size. Sometimes we could put the age of the home. Okay, so this is the bit of an overview, and so the first thing I want you to do now is just simply complete this first tab here with your details. Just use your name and address and your inspection. When you save the inspection, the way we always save inspections is we use the suburb and the address. So it would be, for example, Perth. That one would have been, and then if I'd gone Perth, 24 Royal Street. That's how we save inspections. So if you do that, so pause this video, do that yourself, and then you can save that inside there. Okay, so now that you've done that, the next step is to show you how we flow through the inspection software, because at the moment you haven't seen any of that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the software's been designed, and we built our template in a way that enables you to move from left to bottom and across to right. So what I mean is that so that you don't miss anything during the inspection, you simply click on the first tab and you go to the first one. So you can see now as they get highlighted, it'll open up. So if I click on this one, there's a panel that opens up. Now this is the ACT inspection summary. So this only relates to inspections in the ACT. And so unless you're in the ACT, this won't be relevant to you. If you're not going to complete anything in here, you just move on to the next tab. So then I'll go to our services. This is a blank tab, nothing to do there. Discounts, owner builder warranty, vendor inspection. So these particular tabs are required if you're doing these particular type of inspections. And there's procedures and policies which will explain when you need to include which information. So the first one normally, that if none of these items apply, you go to the inspector tab. And what happens in the inspector tab is you pick basically your name off this list. And the way you pick something is you highlight it. So there's my name in there. So if I click on that, then my name is highlighted. If I want it, anything that's highlighted in that dark blue color will be included in the report. Yeah. So I simply click on it, as I'm doing here. And you can see if I double click on it, it'll come up to edit, which you shouldn't need to do. But you can do that if you need to. So then I go back up to general and I move down through to the next tab, which is inspection type. So and this is where you will pick the type of inspection. So let's say it's a plus. Then I come down here, it's a pre-purchase inspection. So once again, the items that are in blue are the items that will be included. So I go back up, so top to bottom. So then you move down to property information. So now what's happened here is you'll notice there's some other tabs. So left, now we're moving down each of these tabs. And if there's any additional tabs, you move from left to right again. So for example, the structure type. It's fairly so it's a detached single family home, double story. So now these items be included. Orientation, the front of the home property is facing, so then you would pick it south, the property. So you can see how I'm moving from left to right. Now this is a tab. This is the first time we've seen this tab. In this tab here, which is called a selection tab, you basically just have to click on something for it to be included in the report, as I've done here. So property comments, so you would simply go through any of these items that you believe are applicable. Yeah. Now in this section here, in order for something to be included in the report, it needs to be pointed across into either of these boxes, the black or the red box. So for example, I'll pick one here. this one here, which is a water pump, water tank located at the property. Highlighting it in one of these tabs, which needs for it to be put into here, will not be in the report. It then needs to go over here, as you've seen. Then I can double click on it and I can go located at the north side of the property. This will now be in the actual report. So these are comments that if I pick on these, in this particular type of selection process, in this one where there's just the panel, if you highlight it, in these ones where it's got the options for the black or the red box, and I'll explain the difference between those, it does need to be moved across to here. And then also down the side here, we've got these tabs: maintenance, preventative, monitor, deferred, and deficient. And we'll explain that in more detail. If you need to have in the report, this is an item that needs to be included, then you need to tick the box, deferred or deficient or monitor, and this will then be ticked on the report, and I will show you that later. So once again, I'll go through the next item. You can add multiple items over to this section here if you want to. Yeah. Now, there's a section at the front of the report which is called the red section, and this is where items that require attention. And in order for something to be in that, it needs to be put in here. So if I put in here a deficient item, and I'll do that in the next tab, then it would be at the front of the report. So once again, we click on we're moving from left to right, so we click on structure type, and it's a timber framed, and the roof is metal. Once again, that would be here. So then I'm going to go down to the next section, which is inspection details. I've done property information. Now inspection details, once again, I go to left or right. The client was present. The pest inspector present. Occupancy, it was occupied and furnished. Inspection limitation, this item's always include this comment. You can see that up there. So I've gone to left to right. Now I'm going down to the structural summary. This you can't do until the end, so you can't do anything on that. Now, very important to save the inspection again, which will bring it up and replace it. Okay, so what I want you to do now is pause this video and go through and complete everything from these items. It doesn't accept the structural summary. So I want you to do the inspector, inspection type, property, inspection details. It doesn't matter what you put in there, just pick random items. I just want you to go through and do that process. Once you've done that, then start the video again and I'll take you through the next step, part of the process. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to move through some of the different components. I'm not going to go through all of these because they're quite extensive. I'm just going to show you the next one we're going from left to right, top to bottom, left to right. So the next one is structure. So we click on foundations. Now you can see there's a whole range of items that appeared: slab, raised, foundations, foundation walls. Now you may not need to include information from every section, but it does give you a bit of a backdrop. And you might see that sometimes you can't see the entire comment. If you hover over it, like I'm doing here, it will bring up the entire comment so that you can see it, even though you can't see it. Can you see that as I'm doing that? So it enables you to see the full comment, even though you can't see it within the inspection system. Okay, so I'm going to move through this. So the property I'm looking at doesn't have a slant foundation, so I'm going to leave that blank. Nothing will be completed here. Raised foundations. So the home is a raised foundation, so I'm going to highlight that. It's got timber stumps and timber beams noted. Now I'm going to assume there's a bit of a deficient item here, and I'm going to show you how this red item works. Okay, so there's some cracking or splitting observed, so I'll put over there as maintenance. Now I'm going to say there are some sagging beams. Alright, now I'm going to put that into red, and you can see how it goes into the red item. So this is a deficient item, and I'll show you how that sort of works. You know, the being in the red item, it'll appear at the front of the report in red. Foundation walls, there isn't any, and foundation ventilation, there isn't any. So I'm not going to make any comments on that. Once again, save the inspection and replace it. Okay, so you can see now I've now worked my way through this foundation and now structural components. So if I tick on that, I'm just going to do the same thing. That feels fine. Whilst the common particles, no more comments down here. And so and you work through the ceiling structure. Might pick on that, and the suspended floor, like that. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just highlighting. So once again, in this top panel and these panels where there is no black or red section, simply clicking on it and highlighting in blue, it will be included in the report. In the selection panels, you have to put into a black or a red box in order for that to take place. Okay, so what I want you to do now is go through the process of doing the same thing. You know, you can go through each of these items here and select the tabs itself. And then come back once you've done that. Just pause the video. Okay, so you've probably gone through now and had a little bit of a process. Clearly there's a lot of tabs here to go through. I'm not going to go through each of the tabs because this happens the same way. You know, when you would do an inspection, if this is a building inspection, for a timber pest inspection, the template is different. You would use the same methodology. You would simply go across from left to right, top to bottom. So you pick on the items, and then you go left to right. And then it's the best way to do it is simply to move through each tab and see if something's required or not required. That way, it's very, very difficult to miss anything, if that makes sense. So you can see how I'm going from top to bottom, left to right. And this is the methodology and the way it's been built so that you don't miss anything. So left to right across the top, top to bottom, and then once again left to right each tab. And then if it's applicable, you will include it. At this stage, you won't be, you don't have the information or the knowledge to know what to include. That's fine. That'll be come through in our training process. More interested in just giving you a chance about for you to understand how the software works. Okay. So I'm not going to go through each of these tabs because that's a bit of a process. And then what happens with the inspection software process is you will go through each of these tabs. The photos, this is where the photos will be uploaded, and you can see that there's a batch add a photo template. So once you've worked your way through that, it's often useful to upload the photos. We'll take you through the process of how you do that. But basically, batching added photos is, do you want to leave, we always untick that box. And what it does is it basically enables us to upload a whole bunch of photos. I'm going to pick one in here. So you pick the folder with photos in it. So if I look on this, there's a whole bunch of photos here. So you don't pick an individual photo, you actually pick a photo, a folder with photos, and it will bring them back in. So I'll just show you that again. On photos, you can add a review, a photo, batch add photos. We'll bring up a large number of photos in one go. We untick that because we don't want to leave the blank, and then we go OK. Pick the folder, and we open it. And you'll see what's happened here. It's just importing a whole range of 37 photos into a particular format, which you can see. Yeah. And then there's no limit to the number of photos that can get added. This is some photos from an inspection on a home that's been built that I did. And so you can see there's a whole bunch of photos that have been added. Now these photos won't be included in the report just because they've been imported into the template. In order for them to be included in the report, they have to be added to a section. And we do that by simply picking which section. So for example, and we'll show you how to do this in the process. But if I pick, for example, exterior areas and walls, this photo now will be included in that section, exterior areas and walls. If I pick another photo, exterior areas and walls, this photo will now be included. So if something is not placed into a section, it will not be used in the report. We don't normally add captions. We leave those blank unless absolutely necessary. So once again, I'll save the inspection. And so that's how you've added the photos into the actual report itself. Now, if I go to this section, which was exterior areas and walls, you'll now see those two photos are down the side here. Yes. And so as you add photos, then they'll be placed within each section. So it makes it easier to sort of look at what needs to be placed into a report. Okay, so this is a bit of an overview of Home Inspector Pro. So really what I want you to do is have a little bit of a play with it. To get back to that main page, you always click on this client info page here. See this one here? That'll take you back to the home client info page. That's what that does. And I'll just explain maybe some of these tabs. Before I do that, I'm just going to recap once again the process. So when you're using the software, you click on the little green man at the bottom. It'll open it up. You put in this client information, last name first, first name last. The details is mapped out. And then you'll move through left, top to bottom, right, top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom. And every time you click on a tab, then you'll go left to right. This will make sure you move through all the different sections of the report and you don't miss anything. So that's how it flows, if that makes sense. Some of the other tabs here. Address book is if you want to add a real estate agent, and we'll show you how to do that. You can put in their details in here. So if I want to add a new agent, I could put in their details in here. And this is important because from here is how they will be added to the front of the report. And I save this agent. Okay. So now if I go back to client info, you'll notice that agent is in here now. And those details will be included on the report. So this is where you can add an agent's details. Contract page we don't use, but this is actually our terms and conditions. We don't really use this at all, so that's not something that's applicable. I've gone through the process now of looking at edit document. These are the documents. We'll explain to that. This is not something you use either. These documents have all been pre-set up in the template, so you don't need to use that. Edit template, you don't need to play with the template either, so you don't need to go into there. So really the tabs that you'll use are client info, an address book where you add agents. And that's basically the tabs that you will use from here. Once you've done a bit of a report, you want to generate a report to see what it looks like. You click on this tab. I'll just do that now. And it ticks which you can, by doing this, if each section is ticked, it will be included. So if you want to leave a section out of the report, you untick it. If that makes sense. So anything that's not ticked, that section, even if you put content in there, will not be included in the report. And we'll explain to you when you tick what, depending on the nature of the report. You will learn that as part of the process. And then you close this. And then it gives you the name. Now it's saving it as a PDF in the default location, so I'll save that. And what it does is it generates a PDF report, which you then can check to see the quality of what you're doing. Yeah. Just takes a few seconds to do that. Just waiting for that report to open. Da-da-da. Okay, so now it's opened that report. And so you can see there's some key things about it. It's included the the front photo. Normally this is a photo of the home. It's got all the details in it. We have our conditions in it. Now you'll notice that this section with the red item, only the item that I've placed in the red is on this report. So what normally happens here is you'll go through the report and you'll check to make sure things are correct. Now there's not much in here as I haven't completed one, but you can actually go through and check it. I've only put 2 photos in there. Yeah. So that's actually how you generate a report, as simply as that. So what I'm going to do now is once generally the process is you will generate the report, then you can go through it and check the quality, then you can go back and edit it and redo it again. So if I close that now, so that was simply by clicking Generate Report. So this is the process of using Home Inspector Pro. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Probably where it takes the most amount of time is working out where everything is. So this has been an introduction into Home Inspector Pro. The next step, and we'll take you through that, is for you to actually generate a report going through the methodology that I've described, uploading some photos, and then checking and just producing a report. It doesn't matter, the content is irrelevant. It's just actually going through the mechanics of starting with a clean skin inspection and filling in data. Random data is fine at this stage, and generating a report. And that'll be an activity for you to do so that you're able to be confident. And the way that you become confident with Home Inspector Pro is simply by using it continually, if that makes sense. So a lot of the information relating to its use we will take you through. This has been an introduction process. Okay, so hopefully this has been of use to you. Please feel free to play with your inspection software. The only way to become familiar with it is to use it and to experiment with it. Thank you, and enjoy.